My sister derailed my wedding ceremony through social media, all for the sake of viral recognition. Here's how it unfolded. The evening preceding my nuptials, I discovered something troubling. One of my groomsmen alerted me during the rehearsal dinner to check my sister's social media account immediately. I discovered she had posted content describing her intentions to cause mayhem during my wedding day for online engagement. I am a 32-year-old man, and I'm still recovering from what transpired at my wedding last Saturday. My sister has devoted the last decade pursuing internet stardom. She began with cosmetic tutorial videos during her high school years, transitioned to personal lifestyle posts, and now focuses on pranking content on a particular short-form video platform. She maintains approximately 50,000 followers who engage with her often disruptive public performances and supposed comedic antics. Our relationship has been cordial, though not particularly close. She received an invitation to my wedding ceremony and even had a part in the event, delivering a reading. My future spouse found her acceptable. Everything seemed fine on the surface. However, the night before my ceremony, a groomsman messaged me. He urged me to examine my sister's latest upload. I was attending our rehearsal dinner when I got this notification. I almost ignored it, but I'm grateful I didn't. Though I wish I had avoided the distressing content entirely. Her newest post, shared several hours earlier, carried the title describing her plan to sabotage my sibling's wedding to gain online traction. She spoke to her camera audience, describing how she would execute an elaborate disruption during the ceremony. She mentioned potentially standing up to object or announcing a false pregnancy update to make the event unforgettable. Her tone was playful, though her intentions were unmistakably harmful. The comment section reflected polarized opinions. Roughly half her audience expressed enthusiasm and encouraged her scheme. The remaining commenters expressed disapproval, but their voices were overwhelmed. I showed my future wife the video. She sat in silence, processing the information. We discussed possible responses. I assured her I would address the situation. I stepped away from the dinner and called the venue's event coordinator. I received her answering service. I left a detailed message explaining that I needed to modify the guest roster and would send additional details through email the following morning. I returned to dinner without sharing this development with my parents, wanting to preserve their evening. That night, I composed an email to the coordinator with my sister's photograph and a link to her social platform. I emphasized that she had made public declarations of her intention to disrupt the event and should be refused entry. I received confirmation the first thing in the morning. The coordinator assured me they had handled similar situations before. Their security personnel had been briefed and possessed her image. I need not worry further, I informed my spouse over our morning meal. She expressed relief. Would my sister genuinely appear, she wondered? I felt certain. She had committed to her audience that there would be a follow-up video. Her credibility with them depended on showing up. My parents arrived at the location early to help with preparations. I made no mention of the situation to them. I decided to permit events to unfold naturally and address the aftermath later. The ceremony commenced in the late afternoon. I prepared alongside my groomsmen. Everything felt ordinary. I powered down my phone entirely and handed it to my best man, preferring to remain undistracted. The event began punctually. Everything proceeded beautifully. My bride-to-be was breathtaking. My attention remained on her, on our promises to one another. On this occasion, we had invested 2 years in planning. Partway through the proceedings, I became aware of some kind of disturbance near the entrance. I heard louder voices. I couldn't discern specifics and didn't particularly care. I was in the process of getting married. Later, multiple attendees recounted what actually occurred. My sister showed up dressed in an elaborate white bridal gown, not off-white or beige, but a stark white complete gown, headpiece, and floral arrangement. She held her camera, live streaming to her followers as she approached the venue entrance. Security confronted her at the entrance. She supplied her name with complete confidence, assuming she belonged. They reviewed their roster and called for additional security staff. They informed her that her name was not on the authorized list, and she must depart. She expressed shock, claiming she was the groom's sibling and naturally expected to attend. They clarified that she was specifically noted on their exclusion list and needed to vacate the property right away. She began protesting loudly, proclaiming this was absurd. How could security deny her entry to her own brother's celebration? She claimed to be family. One security personnel recalled seeing her video content and recognized her. They informed her they were aware of her digital platform declarations threatening to sabotage the event and she would not be permitted inside. She attempted to force her way through. The security team blocked her passage. She started shrieking accusations of physical assault, declaring this was unlawful, mentioning her relatives were present inside the building. Her camera continued recording. Her audience watched the exchange. Some viewers began to realize this situation wasn't the comedic content they expected. Others remained supportive of her narrative. Security presented her with two alternatives. She could leave peacefully or they would contact law enforcement for unlawful entry. She departed, still filming, still upset, still dressed in her white gown. She apparently spent considerable time in the parking area afterward, continuing to broadcast her experience of mistreatment. I remained unaware of any of this commotion. We exchanged our vows, said our affirmations, kissed, and walked back through the center aisle as newlyweds. The moment was perfect. During the cocktail reception period, my best man pulled me aside. He shared that my sister had attempted to enter, but security personnel had managed her. She had actually arrived, completely outfitted in her white gown and headpiece, recording the entire episode for her audience. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity. She had genuinely shown up in wedding attire. Exactly, security wasn't permissive. They removed her from the premises. Had my parents become aware? Not yet. They had remained inside the entire event. We'd tell them following dinner. There was no point in destroying their evening at this stage. The remainder of the celebration was exactly as we envisioned. Quality cuisine, excellent music, cherished individuals joining us in celebration. My parents eventually learned what happened when someone mentioned it to my mother. She appeared horrified, though the evening had nearly concluded regardless. We departed for our journey the following morning. We disconnected completely, avoiding any digital platforms for 7 full days. Possibly our wisest choice. I returned from my journey a few days ago, and I learned that considerable turmoil had erupted during my absence. After security escorted my sister away from the location, she didn't simply head back home. She remained in the parking area, recording for approximately 2 hours, expressing sadness about her exclusion from her own brother's ceremony, and portraying herself as the injured party. The broadcast accumulated several thousand viewers. Reactions varied. Some displayed compassion. Others began recognizing the facts and speaking out against her. She ultimately left when security returned and threatened to contact police for remaining on the grounds unlawfully. The subsequent day, during my honeymoon when I was fully off the radar, she posted fresh material. She recounted her version of the story, claiming I had barred her from attending. From what people shared with me, she had constructed a completely different narrative. She characterized me as envious of her online following's size. She suggested I was overprotective and couldn't tolerate her surpassing my status. She claimed her sole plan involved giving a sincere toast, and I had massively overreacted to her intentions. She conveniently omitted her stated goal of sabotaging the event. She neglected to reference the white dress. She failed to mention appearing after being expressly banned. That particular video reached approximately 200,000 viewers, substantially exceeding her typical engagement rates. The audience remained divided. Numerous commenters challenged her narrative, while others categorized me as an unreasonable and unkind individual. My parents urged her to withdraw the material. She declined, asserting her entitlement to communicate her perspective and claiming I had shamed her first. Subsequently, someone, I'm uncertain of their identity, potentially a wedding attendee, discovered her initial recording where she explicitly mentioned her scheme to sabotage the ceremony. They shared it in her newer video's comment section. It propagated rapidly across platforms. Screenshots circulated everywhere. Users highlighted her falsehoods, her victim presentation, her narrative distortions. Her comment threads became hostile environments. Each and every post featured people making references to this incident, labeling her entitled and self-absorbed. She started experiencing steady follower reductions. Her original 50,000 dropped to 48,000, subsequently 46,000, continuing downward. She attempted recovery by posting additional material contending that the earlier video was obviously comedic and people misinterpreted her style. Nobody was persuaded. A prominent commentary-focused channel maintaining roughly 500,000 followers created extensive content analyzing her situation. They presented comprehensive evidence, highlighted her deception, referenced the white dress, and condemned all her conduct. That single video accumulated well over 1 million viewings. Her platform presence experienced complete destruction. Every individual recording received comments referencing her behavior, with users reposting and ridiculing her earlier posts. Her follower count continued falling. She made her profile private for a period, but this action backfired because observers claimed she was retreating. My best man found this progression entertaining and continuously forwarded me developments. Meanwhile, I was on a coastal getaway with my new spouse, consuming beverages, completely unbothered. My sister initiated text communication perhaps midway through our trip. Messages started out apologetic. She requested my assistance in telling people it was simply a misinterpretation. I declined to answer. Subsequently, the tone shifted to blame. She declared that I was responsible. I had excluded her and brought humiliation upon her. Continued silence from me. Then her messages became desperate. She communicated that her follower numbers were diminishing daily. Her content performance had deteriorated. She pleaded with me to transmit something indicating we had resolved our conflict. I refused. My parents contacted me, requesting that I facilitate peace because my sister was experiencing emotional distress. I clarified that she had proclaimed her intention to sabotage my wedding, arrived in a white gown after being uninvited, streamed her removal from the property, then distributed falsehoods about the situation. I didn't feel any responsibility to her. My mother employed the familial obligation argument. My father proposed that she was youthful and had committed an error. She's actually 26. She's a grown woman. She deliberately planned this. If she hadn't wanted consequences, she shouldn't have announced her destructive scheme for digital popularity. Upon returning, I discovered my sister had sent perhaps 20 additional text messages. I responded to none. I examined wedding photography and footage, and they were wonderful. No complications, no sister in white attire, no unwanted disruptions, precisely what we anticipated. It's been approximately 3 weeks, and this situation persists. My sister has lost approximately half of her followers, declining from 50,000 to around 31,000. Her current video submissions receive several hundred views when she previously garnered thousands effortlessly. The recommendation system has severely limited her visibility. She has experimented with different tactics to restore her following. Initially, she launched what appeared to be an apology campaign. She released material titled "Recognizing My Mistakes," suggesting she had made poor decisions and mishandled circumstances. However, it became clear this wasn't a genuine apology. Merely expressions like sorry individuals felt offended or that her communication was misunderstood, along with claims that her audience should have recognized the humor. Audiences criticized this response harshly. Commenters highlighted that she never genuinely expressed regret for threatening to wreck the event or for manufacturing false accounts. She simply regretted getting discovered. Subsequently, she switched approaches toward inspirational material, discussing personal development and lessons learned. These posts performed even worse. Her audience had come for sensationalism, not motivational talks. She eliminated her initial sabotage-themed video and numerous others. However, since people had preserved and redistributed everything, removal only worsened her standing. Family relations have deteriorated significantly. My parents continue encouraging me to communicate with her and make amends. They remain anxious about her emotional state and financial circumstances. Apparently, she had generated revenue through brand partnerships that all evaporated. They emphasize preserving family cohesion. I'm declining to participate. I won't endorse her conduct simply because her scheme backfired. My sister has appeared at family occasions without announcement. She showed up for my parents' weekly meal, my grandmother's birthday gathering, a family barbecue at my aunt's residence. Whenever I'm present, she attempts to position me for conversation. She inquires desperately if we can discuss matters. She references her previous apology. She questions the duration of my grudge. She insists we must communicate. I maintain that we have nothing to discuss. She attempted to exploit my wedding for internet points. I'm moving forward from that. She has made these same attempts at approximately 3 separate occasions. Each time she becomes increasingly irritated, and I respond with brief replies before departing. The family has fractured into factions. Some individuals support forgiveness because of kinship. Others believe she got what she earned. This produces uncomfortable situations at every gathering, with attendees taking positions. My aunt conveyed that my sister contacted her in an emotional state, communicating that I had destroyed her existence and she couldn't envision how to progress. My aunt experienced sympathy, but also noted that my sister had initiated this predicament herself. Days later, my sister created additional content. The title suggested it was about families that sever connections over miscommunications. She explained to her remaining audience that I had completely removed her from my existence because of a joke that didn't land as expected, and I wouldn't permit her to clarify her actions. She positioned herself as the victim, she cried while recording. The response turned sympathetic. Individuals unfamiliar with the full story extended compassion. She gained encouraging replies, with persons saying she deserved superior treatment and characterizing me as problematic. This approach was succeeding until a commenter posed the question of whether this was the woman who had arrived at her sibling's wedding in a white bridal dress, then connected a link to the major criticism video. Audiences made the realization, submerged her comments with accusations of lying, and reminded her of her dishonest behavior. She erased the video within hours. Archives had already preserved it, however. She called me that night. This was her first actual phone contact, not simply messages. I picked up. She pleaded with me to broadcast something, instructing people we were fine. She communicated that this was destroying her psychologically. "We're not okay," I stated. "I won't generate deception for you." She expressed that I didn't understand what this destruction was doing to her. She's unable to secure brand deals. She's facing serious monetary problems. I answered that she should have reconsidered before declaring to 50,000 individuals that she'd sabotage my ceremony. She questioned how long I'd hold this over her. "It's been weeks," I answered, "however long it requires for genuine comprehension of your wrongdoing." She apologized, I noted. She created justifications and performed victimhood, I corrected. "They're fundamentally different." She terminated the conversation. Within 10 minutes, my mother called. My sister was experiencing a psychological crisis. I required to resolve this. I explained that nothing needed my attention to fix. She generated the situation. "But she's your relative," my mother replied. "She made an error." Not merely an error, an intentional action. She deliberately chose this path. "What do you need?" my mother inquired. For her to cease contacting me, I responded, before hanging up. My spouse had observed this entire interaction. "You holding up okay?" she questioned. "Yeah, I'm just exhausted." "They won't let this go," I responded. "I understand that's their difficulty," she stated. The following morning, I got a message from my father. "There's a family gathering scheduled for Sunday. Your sister won't be participating. Please make an appearance. We require conversation." I hadn't yet decided whether to attend. It's been approximately 3 weeks currently, and remarkably, this continues escalating. My sister has dropped to nearly 31,000 followers from her initial 50,000. Her recent material gets maybe a few hundred engagements compared to her former thousands. The algorithmic system has effectively blocked her. She's been testing various techniques to rehabilitate her presence. Her strategy shifted to seeming remorseful. She generated material openly acknowledging her misjudgment, explaining she mishandled the circumstance. Yet truthfully, it felt hollow. Mostly expressions of regret if her conduct felt hurtful, or if her intention wasn't interpreted accurately, combined with suggestions that her supporters just didn't appreciate her comedic approach. Audiences replied with scathing criticism. Viewers noted she had never expressed genuine contrition for threatening to ruin my event or for spreading untruths, just regretted exposure. She then redirected toward self-improvement content, communicating about personal transformation and advancement. That approach bombed spectacularly. Her viewers preferred sensational material, not motivational guidance. She eliminated her disruption video and numerous additional posts. Given that individuals had archived and shared everything, deletion simply made matters more difficult. Family circumstances have grown increasingly complicated. My parents maintain urging me to reach out to her and facilitate restoration. They harbor concerns regarding her psychological condition and financial stability. She apparently depended on brand promotions for income, all of which disappeared. They emphasize family solidarity. I remain inflexible. I'm not going to enable her conduct simply because her scheme collapsed. My sister has started attending family gatherings unannounced. She participated in my parents' routine weekly dinner, my grandmother's age-related celebration, a family outdoor meal at my aunt's estate. Whenever my presence coincides with hers, she pursues interaction. She desperately seeks discussion. She brings up her earlier words of regret. She wonders how much more time I'll maintain distance. She insists we must communicate. I maintain that discussion is pointless. She pursued my wedding for engagement metrics. I'm proceeding forward. This dynamic has repeated approximately 3 instances, Every repetition increases her frustration level, while I continue providing terse responses and removing myself from the scenario. The family has split into supporting factions. Some defend reconciliation because of blood relations. Others maintain that she experienced justifiable consequences. This produces discomfort at each gathering, with households aligning with one position or the other. My aunt shared that my sister phoned her in anguish, claiming that I had demolished her future and she wasn't equipped to navigate circumstances. My aunt felt sympathy but emphasized that my sister had manufactured this catastrophe. Several days after, my sister generated new material. The heading mentioned familial separation prompted by miscommunication. She described to her remaining followers that I had terminated our connection entirely because of a failed attempt at humor that I wouldn't forgive, refusing her chances to provide explanation. She narrated herself as the harmed individual. She demonstrated authentic crying throughout. The reception shifted toward compassion. Viewers unfamiliar with complete information demonstrated mercy. She accumulated motivational communications, with supporters suggesting she merited superior circumstances and characterizing me unfavorably. The tactic appeared profitable, until someone replied requesting whether this represented the individual who had shown up at her siblings' wedding in a white bridal dress, then supplied a connection to the comprehensive critic video. Audiences understood the connection, flooded her section with condemnations of deception, and referenced her genuine conduct. She withdrew the material within hours. Archives retained it regardless. She contacted me via phone that evening. This represented her initial genuine telephone interaction, aside from text communications. I received the call. She requested that I distribute content, instructing individuals we had resolved things. She expressed this was devastating her existence. "We're not okay," I stated. "I won't manufacture untruths for you." She articulated that I failed to grasp what this circumstance was perpetrating to her. She cannot procure sponsorships. She's experiencing monetary hardship. I responded, "Perhaps you shouldn't have communicated to 50,000 supporters that you'd obliterate my wedding." She requested the time frame for my grudge. It's been a month already. "For as extended as it takes you to genuinely acknowledge your actions," I responded. She stated she had expressed regret. I corrected her. "You assembled excuses and acted victimized." "That's substantially different," she ended the call. Within moments, my mother called back. "My sister is experiencing psychological devastation. You must remedy this." "Nothing requires fixing," I answered. "She made this disorder." "She's your biological relative," my mother protested. "So am I responded. "What more would satisfy you?" My mother asked. For her to stop reaching out to me, I concluded before disconnecting. My spouse had monitored this whole exchange. "Are you managing?" she questioned. "Yeah, just tired of it all," I answered. "They're never going to release this," I noted. "I'm aware, but that's on them," she reassured me. A text message from my father arrived that morning. "Gathering Sunday at our residence. Your sister will be absent. Would appreciate your attendance. We should converse." I'm still unsure about attending. The gathering happened at my parents' home. My spouse convinced me to hear them out. It consisted of my wife, myself, my parents, and my older relative who apparently was enlisted to serve as an impartial observer. My mother started emotionally before we'd even taken our positions, discussing how the family was deteriorating, and she'd never pictured her offspring not maintaining contact. My father got straight to the point. "You've conveyed your message. She's experienced repercussions. It's moment to advance. Progress how?" I inquired. "Stop dwelling on it. Don't pretend it didn't occur, but you could interface with her. Permit her to provide her apology in person. She's received abundant opportunities," I answered.
"She keeps portraying herself as wounded rather than taking responsibility," my relative interjected.
Admittedly, her conduct was inappropriate, but she's clearly struggling. She's experienced follower losses, financial devastation, reputational damage. Doesn't that constitute punishment? "I'm not imposing discipline," I clarified. "I'm simply declining to pretend everything's normal, because she remains your blood relative." "Exactly. That's precisely why it's more hurtful." She understood this mattered deeply and determined that views superseded our relationship. My spouse then spoke. "May I contribute something?" "Absolutely," everyone responded. What she executed wasn't merely disrespectful toward him. It carried disrespect toward me. Our ceremony, something we arranged, financed, and chose our attendees for, and she informed thousands she'd destroy it. Showed up wearing a wedding dress to pursue through. That's not comedic. That's deliberate harm for recognition. When she encountered repercussions, she misrepresented facts, restructured narratives to position herself as victimized. She dedicated weeks fabricating compassion rather than displaying genuine reflection. Therefore, I don't consider her suffering proportional. She's received appropriate consequences. When she demonstrates genuine acceptance, not apologies meant to eliminate problems, perhaps we consider moving beyond this. The gathering became muted. My relative eventually commented, "That's legitimate reasoning." My mother appeared disappointed but stayed silent. My father merely exhaled. We consumed our meal largely without speaking. It was uncomfortable, though I maintained my resolve. After dinner concluded, my father accompanied us to the automobile. "I comprehend," he started. "I'm equally dismayed by her conduct. It just troubles me seeing the family fractured this way." "I share your feelings," I said, "but I didn't generate this division." He acknowledged my point. "I'm conscious. Simply refrain from completely shutting the entrance. She possesses time yet to develop maturity." Perhaps, I acknowledged. That occurred days back. My sister hasn't contacted since, though my relative communicated that she's been pursuing traditional employment since her influencer endeavor isn't sustainable. My parents have minimized their reconciliation campaigns. I suspect my spouse's statements influenced them. My sister's follower percentage has descended to around 27,000. She posts roughly every 7 days now, primarily cosmetic instruction videos. Zero pranks or sensationalism, just struggling attempts at remaining significant. A commenter inquired about the wedding narrative on her newest submission. She terminated it immediately. Others had preserved it regardless. My spouse inquired the previous evening whether I might someday forgive her. Perhaps when she genuinely expresses remorse, when she demonstrates comprehension of the wrongness extending beyond just her scheme, not functioning as intended. I'm not expressing confidence that will materialize, and if it doesn't happen, my response, I'll experience one fewer source of chaos in my world. I'm capable of accepting that. We examined our wedding collection again. Lovely day, excellent recollections, complete confidence in my decisions. She determined to record and broadcast her intentions to sabotage things. I contacted venue personnel. She pursued virality. She achieved it, just not how she imagined. Individuals repeatedly question if remorse affects me. Genuinely, I do not. I regret the circumstance transpired. I regret she prioritized internet recognition over family connection. I regret my relatives occupy this uncomfortable position. However, regret about defending my occasion and declining to dismiss what transpired. I possess none. She qualifies as a mature individual. She executed mature decisions. She encounters mature repercussions. If she wants to progress, she understands my location. The accountability rests with her currently. I'm experiencing my marriage without concerning myself about my circumstances becoming material.